All right, well, welcome everybody to the June meeting of the East Valley Astronomy Club. I'm glad to see everybody out here tonight. First month of summer, you kind of wonder how big the crowd will be because a lot of people are on vacations and out traveling and stuff. So we have a pretty good crowd here for June. So welcome everybody. As you can see from the slides here, for those here in the room, which is us, and all the folks that are out on Zoom as well, thank you for being with us here tonight. As I've said for probably 2.5 years already, we hope you enjoy yourselves tonight. Have a good time here. We hope you learn something interesting. So we'll take care of that. We have some pretty good speakers tonight, so we're very excited about that. We hope you make a new friend tonight, and we hope you reconnect with some old friends while you're here as well. So let's go ahead and get going here tonight. Let me click over here. There we go. As always, if you haven't put your cell phone on vibrate, please do so now. I'm going to do the same in front of everybody. So mine's on silent. All right, so do we have any visitors here tonight who would like to introduce yourselves? If you're embarrassed to do so, we won't force you to do that, but Andrea will give you a mic. A couple things, I say this every meeting, but we do have a group of people out on a Zoom session. And so if you want to ask a question of the speaker or introduce yourself as a visitor, whatever it might be, wait till you get a microphone and Andrea will bring a mic around to you. That way the folks on Zoom can hear your question or they can hear your introduction as a visitor or whatever, because if you just shout it out, the people on Zoom can't hear a thing. So anyway, go ahead, Andrea.
Hi, my name is Kitty. This is actually not my first time. It's my second time, but I guess I was too shy the first time. How did I find you? I wanted to go to astronomy club, so I Googled astronomy club near me. What is my astronomy experience? I look up a lot. Sometimes with...
That's where I started, so, okay.
Sometimes with eyeball aids in the form of telescopes and binoculars. And I have YouTube. And Carl Sagan used to talk to me when I was 3 years old through the TV. Is that astronomy experience? Okay. If I have one, what is my favorite thing about in space? I feel like if I try to answer that question, it would be like a really long, emphatic rant until someone took the microphone away from me. The favorite thing about space is where everything is. Like, you know, if you like anything at all, then you want to know everything about it and what it's made of and where it is and where it comes from. And that eventually takes you off of Earth and into space and down to the beginning of time if you go all the way down. So, like, that's not the answer. Okay, supernovas. That's my favorite thing about space. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else? Somebody have one over here, Andrea?
I'm Joe Neglia. I found you through my daughter Rachel, who shanghaied me into coming here. I'm greatly enjoying it. Just like Kitty, I was here. This is my second time here. The first time I was too embarrassed to stand up and introduce myself. But with her example, I was able to do it. My astronomy experience, not astronomy per se, but I did have the fortunate opportunity to work on the Hubble Space Telescope antenna pointing system back before it was launched. I used to work at Sperry Space Systems up here in North Phoenix. Great fun. It was an awesome project. And my favorite thing about space, I guess I'll adopt Elon's statement that we should be a multiplanetary species. So let's do it, guys.
Welcome. Thank you. Anybody else like to introduce yourselves? Anyone? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate those folks joining us here tonight. Very nice. Tonight's program, here's sort of the agenda for the evening. So we are going to have announcements, which are very few and far between. There's basically, I think, one announcement, so it's going to be pretty quick. Don't go far, Andrea. Andrea, you're up after this slide, so don't go too far. Anyway, Alice will come up and talk a little bit about public outreach. That's going to be a really short one as well, because as you see, it's really hot and really light outside, so we don't have a lot of public outreach right now. Then we're going to have a couple of member presentations. So Alice, because she wasn't getting enough, stage time doing public outreach, insisted on doing a member presentation tonight because she likes being up here and showing off. So hey, is that true, Alice? Okay. So anyway, so Alice is going to be giving us a presentation tonight, talking about some work that Bill Delingis is doing. Bill's around here somewhere. I saw him. There you go, Bill. There's Bill. All right, and then James is going to come up and give us sort of a trip report about the Southwest Research Center and the trip they did down there. Actually, it's almost 2 months ago now, isn't it? But it just didn't fit into the last meeting, so James is doing it this meeting instead. Then we'll, as always, take our short, 10, 15-minute break. We'll see where we are time-wise. And then we'll have our main speaker tonight, which is Manny Antimisiaris. And I'm actually really looking forward to that because he flew I think was one of the coolest aircraft ever, SOFIA. So anyway, I just love it. And he told me a little bit earlier tonight that it's actually parked down at Pima in Tucson. So that gives me a reason now to go down to Pima. I'd like to see the SOFIA park down there. So anyway, that'll be exciting as well. Andrea, I think you are up next. This is our one announcement for tonight. So, and you're on.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. All right. So for our July meeting next month, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to bring it more home for us. Instead of having a keynote speaker come in and speak, we are inviting you to come and share with us what brings you joy about astronomy. So we're calling it From Nebulas to Know-How. You could be a member. You don't have to be a member. You can speak. You can share an astronomy story. Maybe you got some new equipment and would like to do a show and tell. Maybe you're doing some research of your own and would like to share it with the group. It can be a talk with slides or without. It's up to you what you would like to do. But if that's something you would like to do, please keep it at no more than 15 minutes and then come tell me about it. Let me know. You can come see me tonight, or you can email me at vp@evaconline.org. So let me know if you want to be part of our July meeting next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And Alice, I think you're up next. So if you want to come up this direction, and you can do your slides. Ooh, you got the big pointer tonight. Yeah.
So much fun. Woohoo. All right, thanks, Steve. All right, welcome everyone. So I am the club's events coordinator, which means I organize and coordinate the outreach. And a lot of people ask me, why should I join your club? Well, one of the perks I like to brag about is if you are a club member, you can now volunteer for outreach. All right. So how do we give back to our community? 2 ways. First way is literally just down the sidewalk over here to the east, and that is the Gilbert Observatory. So if you are interested in being an operator or volunteering to help with crowd control or education, it is open every Friday, Saturday night from sundown until 9:30, obviously weather permitting, to share the heavens with all of the guests. If you're interested in volunteering, go ahead and email. It's Claude is our manager, and he could be reached there at greco@evaconline.org. Reach out to him, and he'll get back to you, all right? Next is me, and this is our public outreach. And what do you do for public outreach? Well, we go to schools, churches, libraries, HOAs, community centers, and we share our love of astronomy with those guests. How do we do that? Well, 2 ways. First way is if you have a telescope, or in our case tonight, we're featuring binoculars. You would bring your telescope or binoculars to the event, have an object in mind that you want to share. And as guests come up to the telescope, you just share some facts about that object. And then if they have questions, answer any questions they might have. If you don't have a telescope or you don't feel comfortable bringing your own telescope, I could always use what we're calling walker helpers. And these volunteers help me keep the guests in line. You remind them of telescope etiquette. Maybe you entertain them because sometimes the lines can get very long. You would entertain/educate them about whatever is up in the night sky, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with them. And that's it. You get to choose what you want to come to, which star party fits into your schedule. If you're interested in doing this, definitely you need to sign up for the volunteer mailing list. It's the freelist.org at the very bottom there. It is imperative that you sign up for that. I communicate all updates, cancellations, changes to star parties through that website. So if you're interested, sign up. We'd be happy to have you. Also on the website, on our website, EVAC Online, Events and Meetings has a calendar there too that shows what's coming up, times, gives descriptions, details, that kind of thing. I do send out reminders or upcoming announcements the end of the month for the following month, so you have an idea of what's coming up, where it's at, time frame, that kind of thing. I send out reminders the day before, and then again, always if there's some kind of change or cancellation, I'll send that out maybe the day of. So check that out. And then here is our star party for this past month, or this month actually. Clouded. Another reason to sign up for, let me go back, that very bottom one right there. That's what you need to sign up for, because that happened. I sent out a cancellation to let all the volunteers know. Here's what it is. Our star party season right now is on a small hiatus. Just like Steve said, it's summertime. It's later evenings, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock before it gets dark. So our only star parties that we're doing until about mid-September is the second Friday star parties. And those star parties are held over here on the grassy area just below the Gilbert Observatory. Members bring their own telescopes, set up, and guests who go to the observatory can come down and look through our volunteers' telescopes. And right now, because someone put on social media about the observatory, it's been a little crazy up there. We've had to turn people away, unfortunately. So it would be nice for not to have cloudy skies, so that if it was really crowded, people could still view through telescopes through our second Friday. If you have any questions about this, please come and see me during the break or afterwards, or you can email me at events@evaconline.org. All right. All right. I think I'm still up here. Yeah, Steve? Oh, one more. Yes. So recent public wedding events. Yeah. So Rachel is one of our volunteers. She's very, very active in our outreach, and her now husband, Brian, if you guys want to stand up, are recently married. Congratulations. Woo! Yeah. So we had the honor of being invited, and so we went and supported her, just like she supports us. We went and supported her. So congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you both, and enjoy your new life together. All right. Yeah, I love it. All right, keep going, Steve. Oh, just stay. All right, all right. Member presentations. That's me. All right, finding Dell objects. All right, excellent. In search of Dell objects. What is a Dell object? Well, I'm gonna share my journey with you and let you know. So first of all, binoculars. Why binoculars? Well, our next presenter, James Yoder, he brought a 3D printed binocular one time and gave a member presentation on it. And it was pretty cool. At the time, I thought you had to have a 3D printer. So I didn't have one. And this thing was massive. It was cool, but it was really big. And my price range, that what it was, it wasn't in my budget. But it planted a seed. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then Bill Dellinges, we're going to get to him. He is one of our outreach volunteers as well. And he always brings binoculars. And he brought binoculars to Apache Junction Multi-Generational Center's Star Party. And the view I saw through that was breathtaking. I saw the full moon rising behind the superstitions, and I was like, wow, gorgeous. That left an impression in my mind. So who's Bill? He's this guy right here. He's actually sitting in the audience, but he is a member of EVAC, has been a member of EVAC for quite some time. He's also a member of the Superstition Mountain Astronomical League, also known as SMALL. What I think is really cool is back in the day, there was a magazine called Star Talk. Was it? No, Star Date. And it was published by the McDonald Observatory at the University of Texas. And there's these questions that he submitted to this magazine. I have some here, I have some on the display. Well, one of those questions was actually featured in Tyson's book, Merlin's Tour of the Universe, which I think is pretty cool. We have a member who is published here by a famous astrophysicist. So we'll come back to Bill. So now I've seen this beautiful view. I know this guy who's very knowledgeable. So next, this is why these meetings are so fabulous. I was yet inspired by another guest presentator who is with Analog Sky. His name is Robert Ezemende. And the same guy who James, I just mentioned, had these really cool big binoculars. Same company he got his from. I realized, hey, I don't have to have a 3D printer. I can build my own binoculars. That's pretty cool. And then I still thought about that beautiful view I had with Bill's binoculars. So I bought a box full of parts. I bought the course and I put these binoculars together. Then, yet again, James did another member presentation on 2 books on his website. One of them is a book he's working on different constellations, what's in them as far as objects, where to find them in the sky. And the next book was Bill Dellinge's book, this binocular book. And it's called A New Catalog of Stellar Richfields for Binoculars. So this past April, I went to the Messier Marathon. I brought my binoculars that I just put together, and I went in search of these Dell objects. While I'm imaging some Messier objects with my S50, I'm looking through the night sky for Dell objects. What a blast. I had no idea I would have so much fun searching for these objects. In fact, I'm not a big journal person, but I do it for astronomy. And I'm just going to share with you guys some of the things I saw. So Dell 16, I go, found it. Beautiful group of stars. Dell 17, lots of stars. Dell 18, lots and lots and lots and lots of stars. Dell 19, Orion's sword. I came across the Orion Nebula. Beautiful. I saw that with those binoculars. Then I actually went to Dell 19. So many stars. Wow. It was a blast. And I also thought, you know, I know my constellations, but I don't know how to star hop because I don't know the name of the stars or what's in the constellations. So, you know, Bill's book was a really great help in educating me on that. So now we get to have the finger here pretty soon. All right, so how does Bill's book work? So what's really good is that he gives great descriptions. It's super easy to understand and read. And I just had a great time. They are all stars that are in a wide field of view. And he recommends right here, I got to use this now, right there, 7 by 50 or 10 by 50 binoculars. The magic binoculars I have back there out of the box are 10 by 50. There are about 24 Dell objects. They're objects he has found over the years that don't have an IC number, an NGC number, or a Messier number. Yeah, I mean, they're great. And obviously you can see they're called Dell objects after him, Dellingus. So let's see, how do we use this book? First of all, he starts off right here and he gives you winter, spring, summer, fall, what's visible. Each of these little round circles is a Dell object, and you can see where it's at in the constellation. So I'm going to walk you through Dell 16. So you go to Dell 16. This is my book. That's why all the little pink marks here. And he gives you a brief description, what it is, what you're looking for, how he found it. And then he gives you this really wide field of view right here. Right here's Orion. I started with Dell 16 in Orion because I know Orion really well. So right here's Orion. Right here's where we want to go. So now that I know where I'm going, he then zooms in further. And so I know, oh, I'm going to look between this star and this star. And I can't read that because it's too blurry, but he gives you the name of the stars. He gives you the circle right here is where you're looking. I had no problem finding it. It was quite beautiful. So Bill's book, how do you get Bill's book? Go to James's website, which is artcentrics.com, which is right here. Click on the astronomy right there. Go down to education, come on over and go down to books. And then I believe you scroll down once you get to books, and right here is Bill's book. It's free to download. I'm old school, so I printed mine out, or you can print it out. The Magic Binoculars right there can be found on analogsky.com. And Bill, you want to come up here and answer any questions that our guests might have? So any questions for Bill about his book? Wow, we've wowed you guys to silence. I'm going to ask you, Bill, why did you do the book in the first place?
Because I was fascinated by wide stellar fields that had no designations, as you pointed out. And it's kind of nice just to in wide field binoculars, take in these sites. And I realized also they don't have a number associated with them. So maybe a lot of people don't know about them. And there are, some of these vistas are just fabulous. And I thought, well, wait a minute, somebody should catalog this thing. And I realized that that hadn't been done before. You know, you've got the NGC, you've got the Messier, you got this, you got that. And, but no one seems to have, I could be wrong about this, but as far as I know, no one came up with the idea of having a list of beautiful vistas that are kind of anonymous, but not any longer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And how long did it take you to make this catalog?
2 years.
Awesome. And he does have a card over on our binoculars display if you wanted to pick it up. So it gives the website and how to print it out. I love it. Thank you, Bill, so much.
That's on the website's on a little tag on the other side of my card.
Other side of the card. Anybody have any questions?
Let's ask that on the microphone, please. That's okay.
How did you go about finding them? And how did you decide which views or objects to include?
Well, I kind of just took it one night at a time. When I was observing other things, I would grab my binoculars, observing other things with a telescope. Then I would take my binoculars and just peruse the sky and see if there wasn't any interesting rich fields of stars. And when I saw one, I thought, So I wrote that down and I thought, well, okay, I'll formalize that later. And so every observing session, I would tried to see if I could find them. And so, a lot of times I found them by accident. I was trying to star hop, even though I have a go-to telescope. But somehow, in looking at these famous objects, I would just sort of by accident slip off target a little bit, and I would see something that would catch my eye. Now, there's a lot of stuff to see out there. These 24 objects are certainly not the limit. There's many out there, and I'm still going to be looking for more. And but I came up with 24, and then last year, I think in July, Andrea Matthias and James Yoder approached me, and they said, you know what? Why don't we do a book on your searches? Because these items, as I found one by one, I would present them first at the EVAC newsletter under the banner of the Backyard Astronomer that I had done for many years. And so they just started piling up, and they must have spotted those. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, that sounds great. And they offered to do all the work.
Even better.
Even, yeah, right. So the plan was James, being the computer whiz that he is, he would be doing all the graphics. And Andrea would be the proofreader, being an English teacher. And so we just started out there. I think this was July of last year. And in about 2 months, we had the book finished.
Yeah, I know James mentioned it on one of his member presentations. That's how I found out about it. Another great way to come to the meetings and learn. Anybody else have any other questions? Oh, yeah.
One moment,
Wait
please.
for her
One
to come
moment.
around.
Yeah,
We have Zoom,
thank you.
Zoom members listening in.
Can you do this from a municipality like this, or do you need to be in a dark sky area to see these Dell objects?
You do not need a dark sky to do this. It would be better if it was a dark sky, but I'm located between Apache Junction and Gold Canyon, and I've always thought that my sky is disgustingly bright. It's better than, say, here at this spot, of course, but so it's not super dark, but it's dark enough to, with a pair of binoculars, to see these items that we're talking about here, because actually they're fairly intrinsically bright. So that helps.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
I would like to make just one little comment about the binocular size. You mentioned the 7x50 and the 10x50. Actually, the binocular I used for it is right over there. It's a typical birding glass. It's only an 8x42 Nikon Monarch HG, but it has a field of 8.3 degrees, which is humongous. And that's why I chose it, because these objects require a big field. And the circle on the maps, the close-up is that's the 8.3 degree field. So go after them with the widest field binocular you have. And another thing I noticed is actually, obviously a 10x50 will show you a brighter image, but in a smaller field. So what I do is kind of use both. I find my object like that, and then just with the 8x42 8-degree field, and then I put the 10x50 on it, and wow, everything is twice as bright. And so my tip for you would be, if you're going to take this on with the 8x42 wide field, also, if you have on hand a 10x50, check it out in the 10 by 50. You'll be losing a little field, but the payoff is a much brighter.
I noticed that I have the 10 by 50 with the Magic, and I had no problem spotting those beautiful star fields. All right. Well, thank you, Bill. All right.
By the way, check out Alice's dress. She made that and it's constellations. That's pretty cool. So anyway, all right. All right, next up, we're going to have presentation number 2, which is James Yoder, who's going to give us sort of a trip report to a little star party they ran down at the Southwest Research Station. You just hit the arrows to forward. Thanks.
Before we get into that, on the binoculars, are those magic binoculars? You can replace the eyepieces too, right? Yeah. So that guy in Analog Sky, just as an aside, he's a really good designer, and he, like she was saying, you can either buy the kit and print the parts out yourself. When I did mine, it took about a month of printing nonstop, or you can just buy the kit and he has the printed parts for you. It's a nice little project, and they're designed really well. Matter of fact, she's got a 50 millimeter. I had the 80 millimeters, which are a little longer, and they're much bigger, which most of you guys have seen already. I liked them so much. Now, I don't know how much Magic costs. I think the 80 millimeters was like 700 to 1,000, depending on if you got everything. Those are much cheaper, right? Or much more reasonable. Yeah, so, and the other nice thing about it is you could put filters. There's a slide in there for filters you can put in. It's just so much better than normal binoculars. But anyway, I like the 80 millimeters so much, although I don't use them as much as I'd like to. He announced that he was designing an 8-inch binocular. So instead of 80 millimeters, it's 130 millimeters, I think. so I jumped on that. And so he's still developing it, although it's getting close to the end. I'll tell you guys when it's done and everything. I put it together, but I'll get a big box, I'm sure. That was more in the range of $4,500. And these you sit down and look at. The mirrors are down here, and you look back out. You know, it looks behind you, and it has a pie finder in it and a laser. So anyway, really neat stuff that he does. I encourage you guys to check out the website because he just is a master designer. Wonderful stuff. So anyway, that's that. So me and my wife do quite a bit of hiking, and one of the places that we've been to 3 or 4 times is the Southwest Research Station, which is in the Chiricahuas, which is very, 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 very east of Arizona, right on the border of Arizona and New Mexico, literally on the border. It's very dark skies there. What we initially went there for is hiking, and also it's a world, actually, I think it's world famous for birding during certain times of the year because it's a major migration path. So you can see a lot of birds there at the right time of year. So we've been there 3 or 4 times before, and I take my telescope there before, and it's really nice dark skies, Bortle too, maybe even better. And so I was thinking that it would be nice to maybe check out and have a star party there. So I sent out a email to groups of people in the AZ observing distribution list and some of the students I've had before, and said, hey, look, I'm looking to do like an experimental trip just to check out the place for star parties. If anyone's interested, let me know. And so I kind of coordinated that. What the research station is, it's in the middle of nowhere, and they do the research like on bees, on the Chiricahua leopard frog, which is endangered species. They do that kind of stuff. It's not government owned, but I think it's privately owned, but they have, you know, there's courses and stuff like that. They have course on identifying bees and stuff like that they do. So it's very educational based. It's got some dorms there and some places to stay also, and which I'll show you some pictures on. But anyway, it's a really nice place, and it's dark skies, like you're saying. One of the downsides of it, I guess I should get into the slides and talk through these points here a second real quick. So I got about 18 people who are interested in it. So blah, blah, blah. It was from the April 15th to April 17th. And it's the organization is American Museum of Natural History. They also have areas in the East Coast that they do. So there's information about the website. So I also, after the event, I'm going to skip back to that. Here's some pictures. As you can see, the group there and the night sky and some other little excursions that we went on. Here's the dorms. So there's dorms, there's apartments, and there's, different apartments. The dorms are pretty basic, as you can see, and they have bathrooms for men's and women, shared bathrooms, and they even have a classroom there that they gave us access to that we could use. Pictures. So the cost of staying there is $120 a night, which isn't bad, but the really nice thing is they provide all the food. So, every meal is provided. You wait for the cowbell and you can hear it going, and it's like herd on over because they've got a cafeteria. The food, I think everyone agreed the food is pretty good. So $120 a night, that's really hard to beat. And basically it frees you up to do astronomy. And then in the daytime, there's nice places to hike. And if you want to go birding, there's places to go bird and stuff. Matter of fact, I'm sure we got some pictures of some birds here. So it's a great place. So after the event, we did a survey to see what people thought and what their feedback was. And basically everyone said they would attend it again. So that was a good sign. 9 out of 9 people that responded on the survey. Preferred nights, 3 nights and 4 nights were the 2 preferred. Best part of the event, dark skies and astronomy, social interaction, fellow astronomers. So that was nice because the cafeteria, everyone could, gather around, talk about what they're doing the night. Room and board, people like that. You can't beat the price. And the birding, hiking, so many things you can do there. Just don't expect to be able to go to the store real quick because there's no store around for a while. Least enjoyed parts, it's a very long drive there. It's in the middle of nowhere. That's the other downside is it is kind of in a valley a little bit, which is good and bad because it does cut out, if there was any light pollution, if those mountains cut it out in the trees. But the horizon is about 30 degrees on average. So it's an elevated horizon because of the trees in the mountains. On the other hand, if you know that, you can plan on looking stuff over sky. So that's not that big of a deal. It can be a bit of a deal for finding the North Star. So next time if we do that, I'm going to go out the night before and identify locations where you can see the North Star, for aligning your telescope and put flags there. So that'll take care of that. So unfortunately, they were having trouble with the heater in some of the dorm rooms. So that was kind of a problem. They would wake you up in the middle of the night if you were sleeping. And also, we did do a little presentations, but people would like to have more presentations. So that was the feedback, pictures of the dorms. Here's some of the image. We had both visual observers there and astrophotographers. As you can see, got some excellent astrophotography going there. Here's this is one of the hikes I went on, me and my wife went on. So there's, like I said, that's the kind of scenery you got in the area. It's hard to see it, but this bird up here is the elegant trogon. Birders kind of go crazy for this thing. It's only there for the migration time of year, and then it goes back down to Mexico. As you can see, there's lots of wildlife out there. These are pictures that me and my wife took of the javelina and the turkey. Turkey's kind of going through the area at the dorms. So, and the deer, I think, someone else probably took that one, I think. They're running around the area also, so it's very wild out there. Conclusion, the event was enjoyed by everybody. Seemed like a good venue for holding future star parties. Room and board was excellent. Let's see, I talked about staking out sites. So I think I would like to plan doing a yearly type of thing. So we'll probably try to do that again next year. If anyone's interested, keep an eye on the emails and everything because we'll send out announcements for that. Also, if you do want to do the star parties, just a reminder, the Hyman Ranch Star Party is coming up. When is it?
Hyman Ranch Star Party is September 11th through 13th.
So sign up for that if you're interested in that. We will provide food on that well, not all food. We'll do breakfast and dinner. And it's a pretty nice dark site. The only problem is those dates are a little hazardous for weather. So there's a chance that we could get rained out or something. And that did happen to us 2 of the nights, was it last time? But it's an adventure anyway. So anyway, if you're interested, check out the website and there's more information on that, or email me. I think that's survey results. These are the details, so there's no need to go over that. I think that's it. Yeah. So has anyone got any questions?
Do you, excuse me, do you have to stay in the dorms or can you camp?
If you don't have to stay there in dorms, as a matter of fact, one of the options is if you want to pay for the meals, you can do the meals. You don't have to stay there or do the
Okay.
meals either if you want to. You could just drive in, but you can't like park a RV there because, yeah, you could definitely camp. And there are places that camp and there's RV places that are very close around. So good question. 1 second.
As you know, oh, hello. I was just going to mention Steve Bradshaw and I had camped down there 2 years ago. Okay. The only thing I would caution people, there are bear in that canyon. And we were just maybe a mile down the road from the Institute there. And we went on a couple hikes and we did find fresh bear scat on those trails. So highly encourage people, if you're going to take a hike, get some bear bells and maybe some bear spray. You can never be too cautious. All right.
It's a good point. It is very wild, although I will say me and my wife have hiked there. We've probably hiked 50 miles there, I would say, give or take. And, you know, we do run into some wildlife. We hike a lot, and I've seen bears 3 times, and every time I see them, they're out of there, except for once. There's a little baby bear, and that really scared us because he was just there, and we're like, where's mom? We never found mom, and he was plodding down the trail. So, but really, it's true. You want to be cautious, but my experience is the wildlife wants to have nothing to do with you unless it's rabid, and that's the only thing you got to worry about.
Hi there. I missed where that is and what it is. I missed the name of it.
Okay, it's the Southwest Research Station in the Chiricahuas.
Okay. And when's the best time of year to go? Probably spring and fall?
Yeah, they are only open certain times of the year. I think, I don't know what the exact dates are. They open up, I think, a couple weeks before we did that, and they'll be open, I think, till October, and then they're closed. And researchers get priority. So before we could reserve the places, they had a time period where the researchers could get the planes, and then we had whatever is available after that. Yeah.
What would you say is probably the max capacity for us?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, a lot has to do with the researchers, the dorms. I think, you know, we had 18. We could probably, if we hop on it early and there's not a whole lot of researchers, again, it's completely dependent on that. It probably like 40 people, I would think, something like that. I think the administrators were pretty pleased with things because every night we offered, there's other hikers. There was a hiking group there that had about 25 people also. And we offered them, you know, whoever was interested, staff, that we'd give them a little tour of stuff. And so we had the telescope set up for about half an hour to hour. And after that, they cleared out and we could do our own stuff. So they were all happy with that. So. Okay, thanks everybody.
The question was, when's the best time to go? Not summer. That's when Steve and I went down there, and it was brutally hot. We spent a lot of our afternoons at the general store because there was air conditioning there because it was so hot. So anyway, but it's a great place. And there's actually a local astronomy club down there as well. They don't view in the canyon itself because of the high walls. James mentioned the 30-degree horizons, but apparently they have an observing site just outside the canyon where they go, where they have like a, you know, more of a zero-degree horizon. So it's very nice. What time is it? We have, I might do this. This is kind of on the fly. I know when Bill was talking earlier about field of views and all that, some of you probably have seen this website, but I'm going to show you a website here. I kind of queued it up. Let me get it going here. See if I can drag this over to, hang on. There we go. As if you, some of you have undoubtedly probably seen this site before. That's not what I wanted it to do. There we go. If you've never seen this, you literally just type in astronomy.tools is all you do. But one of the things I like about it, has lots of stuff, but up here, it's kind of hard to see it from where I am. See this field of view thing here? This is actually a pretty cool thing to show you what you might see from various telescopes or various eyepieces in terms of field of view. So for instance, you can look for Messier objects, solar system objects, and so forth. I'm going to go over here and click this and see if I can find something really wide. Am I down to 31 yet? I can hardly see it from where I am on my screen here. Oh yeah, I'm well past 31. Now I got to find my mouse again. Where'd the mouse go? There we go. All right. So let me go down here. There we go. Andromeda Galaxy. There's something really wide. So as you all know, that's a pretty wide target up in the sky. It's, you know, our closest large galaxy. But anyway, what you can do is select that, for example, and then you can scroll down here and you can say, well, what telescope are you going to view it with? And I'm actually just going to type in, let's see, evolution. So I have a Celestron evolution. I have a 9 1/4, so I'll select that. And then you can select, it tells you the focal length of your telescope and your aperture size. Those are accurate. And then for the eyepiece, you can select the eyepiece that you want. And I want to, well, let me just do this. Let me do 40 millimeter or something like that. And let's see. Oh, that'll work. The Explore Scientific, 52-degree field, whatever else. So I've selected all that. So what's my field of view? What am I going to be able to see in relation to the Andromeda Galaxy? Because I had selected that. So if you just say add to view here, then what it does, it says, well, this red circle is what you would see on the Andromeda Galaxy. And so you can see that you're going to basically get the center, the really bright part, but you're not going to get the outside spiral arms with that. So if you want to see, well, what would it be like then if I went back up here and say, well, let me do a reducer, and let me just do a, is that 0.5? Am I on 0.5? Two more up, this right here. A 0.5 reducer. Let me add that to view. And what it does, it says, well, if you use the focal reducer, you go from this with your normal, the normal eyepiece. With a reducer, you're going to catch all this. So it's actually a really cool thing. And you can do it for Barlows and reducers and all sorts of different eyepieces. But it's a nice way of actually planning. Well, if I want to go out and look at that, what would be the best combination of telescope, eyepiece, you know, field of view for the eyepiece, reducer, Barlows, or whatever else, and you get a good idea and you can see what all the different rings are. So if you've never seen that site before, it's actually a really useful little site. It's kind of pretty cool to see. So anyway, I just threw that in as an aside. That wasn't on a plan thing. Anyway, where we're at now, it's about 10 minutes of 8. We'll have our main speaker up in just a few minutes. Let's take a, let's go ahead and just do a 15-minute break. We'll be back in our seats in 15 minutes.
We are honored to welcome our guest tonight, whose career spans more than 4 decades and over 10,000 flight hours across military, commercial airlines, and NASA. Emmanuel, or Manny, Antimisiaris was a research pilot and navigator from 2001 to 2018 at NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center in Edwards, California. He was commissioned into the U.S. Air Force in 1983, where he served on B-52 bombers as both a navigator and later as a pilot. During Operation Desert Storm, he flew more than 40 combat support missions in the E3 Airborne Warning and Control System, or E3 EVAC. After service as a human factors engineer at the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, he concluded his military career as a reservist managing Predator unmanned aerial vehicle production and deliveries for the Air Force Reconnaissance Systems Program Office. Following his active military service, he flew various commercial aircraft for several airlines, including 747s for Southern Air Transport, DC-8s and DC-9s for Airborne Express, and 737s for American Airlines, the LR-45 for FlexJet, and A320s for JetBlue Airways. In 2001, he brought his extensive heavy aircraft experience to NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center. He initially joined the agency as a systems safety engineer, evaluating upcoming test flights and analyzing the hazards involved and mitigations to make those flights safer. By 2008, he transitioned into flight operations as a navigator on the DC-8 and deployed on several airborne science campaigns, including Operation Ice Bridge over the Antarctic and the intercept of the Hayabusa space probe reentry near Australia. He improved the mission planning process for upcoming flights of the DC-8 by incorporating automated flight planning and eliminating the tedious task of manually building flight plans. In 2010, his extensive background in the 747 led to his assignment as a pilot for SOFIA, the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. Flying this modified 747 SP, the world's largest airborne astronomical observatory, he piloted several of SOFIA's historic first light and early science missions. Please join me in welcoming former NASA research pilot and navigator, Manny.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys inviting me here. When I got called by, I had to figure out how to do all this because presently I'm a pilot with Southwest Airlines, and I was like, how do I fit this into the schedule? It worked out perfect today because I just finished a 3-day trip, landed 4 hours ago, so it was nice, saved me a trip home. I live up in Prescott Valley, and I just changed half my uniform, put on this shirt. My white shirt with the epaulets is sitting in the car right now, so I appreciate your invitation over here. It's really a lot of fun for me to do this. Did I really do all that? I can't remember. So yeah, here's the cover page for the NASA SOFIA program. So how did SOFIA start? It was actually a replacement. The original aircraft was actually a Pan Am Airways aircraft. It was a SP. It's a shorter version of the 747. And this one was actually Clipper Lindbergh. And when we built the airplane, we actually rechristened her as Clipper Lindbergh. And Eric Lindbergh, Charles's son, a grandson, actually christened the airplane for us. A chance meeting, we brought the airplane up to Ames Research Center in San Jose, and this young gentleman came up to me and in a very gruff voice said, "Son, is that really Clipper Lindbergh, or did you guys just paint that on there?" And I went, "No, sir, it's actually Clipper Lindbergh." And then Ben Smith told me, "I have personally flown that airplane 45 times around the world. I was a Pan Am pilot for 30 years. And I just went, "Somebody take our picture right now." We offered to take him up inside the airplane, and we're like, "You got to go see the inside." And he goes, "No, no, no, I've seen airliners before." I'm like, "No, no, no, it's different." He just didn't. He goes, "I just want to sit here and stare at her." All right, man, you take all the time you want. We developed a great friendship. We talked like Tuesdays with Maury, it was Tuesdays with Ben. "How's my airplane doing?" We were doing a lot of heavy modifications to it. "Your airplane's awesome, Ben." And one day I called and his caretaker answered the phone and I went, no. He made it to 94 years old and sharp as a tack the entire time. Never lost any of his mental faculties. So here's the airplane as it sits inside our former hangar in Palmdale, California. This actual hangar was the B-1 bomber production hangar. 800,000 square feet of space, and you can see the DC-8 that I got to fly in over the Antarctic ice cap and over both poles, north and south. several atmospheric research missions with that, and we still had plenty of room inside that hangar for a whole bunch more equipment. The cutaway view of the airplane, as you can see right here, it's the largest pressure bulkhead ever made for an airplane. Let's see, am I doing this right? Laser pointer, come on. Okay, there it is. So this pressure bulkhead right here is the largest pressure bulkhead ever made for an airplane. So from this point back, it's open and unpressurized. From this point forward, it's normal shirt sleeve environment for all our passengers, all our astronomers to work. This is a 40,000-pound gyro-stabilized telescope that could handle up to moderate turbulence in the air and still observe. And the stat that they use is with this 9-foot, a 2.5-meter primary mirror, we could focus on a dime at 30 miles away and tell you what date it was minted. So pretty wild technology. The early concept of the airplane had various configurations for the interior. At first, they envisioned having this telescope mounted up front because of the 2-story configuration, but that was going to take way too much modification for the airplane. So they decided to move it towards the back. So it's got the 9-foot primary mirror, it's got a secondary mirror, then a tertiary mirror, and then the image goes down through a tube that's hollowed out through a spherical bearing that's supporting the telescope. And this is where the science instruments are mounted. Inside the hangar with the door open, this is what it looks like. There's no window covering this opening, and it's about the size of a 2-car garage. And it's just open to the atmosphere. The way that's the airplane's configured, you can see this kind of a hump right here. This fairing actually took most of the air up and over the opening. So in flight, when you opened or closed the door, there was no difference in vibration, sound, nothing at all. In fact, our first test flights, we flew the airplane really slow with the door just cracked open because we didn't know if it was going to be a 500,000-pound dog whistle in the air. And we were very concerned about structural dynamics and vibrations tearing the tail off. And over the course of about 8 months, we did several test flights where we flew the airplane faster and faster and opened the door higher and higher until we reached the full open envelope. And we were certified to go fly science missions. This is downstairs. It's all workstations. This is where the mission director and his assistant sit. They run the circus downstairs. And when I mean circus, 10 different interphone channels all going at the same time. And he's the guy that monitors that. He had one channel to talk to us as pilots up front to tell us where we needed to turn the airplane. Way in the back here, that is the telescope in blue. And the orange and silver, that's one of the 7 different instruments that were bolted onto the telescope. All of them weighed between 3,000 and 5,000 pounds, all cryogenically cooled with either liquid helium or liquid nitrogen, because we're looking for heat signatures out in deep space, and that's what the infrared spectrum's all about. Here's a close-up view. This is one of the instruments. I think this one was called GREAT. It's the German receiver at terahertz frequencies. And I told the lead astronomer one day, I just call it the German really expensive astronomical thingy. He actually laughed. And most of his assistants were like, you actually got Hans to laugh. And he never laughs. I'm like, score. Here's what this telescope looks like without an instrument mounted on it. And you can see that's where the nadir tube is that the image comes through. So SOFIA was developed over a period of 10 years in Waco, Texas. Cutting an airplane in half or cutting a hole in the side of it really messes up with the dynamics of the airplane. Airplane fuselages are kind of a living, breathing thing, pressurization and cycles. So when they did all these mods, they really didn't know exactly what the airplane was going to do to it, all these modifications, but it worked out okay. We brought the airplane home from Waco in 2007, and here it is arriving over the NASA campus at Edwards Air Force Base. Here it is just with some of our fighter planes that we had for photo op. I forgot to mention, you can see the NASA logo and DLR. This was a US-German partnership. DLR is the German version of NASA. Don't ask me how to say that. It's got a really long German, Look it up, DLR, and you'll see what I mean. So we did, like I said, our first door open flight in 2009, and we were cleared to go. During the test process, we actually said we need to do a door open landing in case the door malfunctions. That caused a lot of angst with all the astronomers. They were very concerned about damaging that mirror with any debris that might have gotten kicked up by the landing gear. And because there was no replacement for that mirror, it took a year of grinding to get that mirror completed. So they knew if we broke the mirror, the program was over before it even started. But we insisted on it. We got to see what the handling qualities were for landings. So we did one test flight, and there was no difference in handling on the airplane. It's really an amazing piece of engineering. Even though they argued against it, they're like, no, no, no. Well, we had 5 door open landings in the first year of operation because of a software problem, not a hardware problem. There was a 1 and a 0 somewhere in the computer code that was reversed, and the computer thought, hey, the door's already closed. Quit telling me to command close. It's already done. So they found the bug, they fixed it, and we never had a problem since. So what are some of the areas that we're looking at? You know, galaxies, interstellar medium of the Milky Way was our primary focus, the formation of stars and planets and other planetary sciences. The first time we flew with the door open, we went up just to see what the telescope could see. If you remember Hubble, when it first went up, it was nearsighted. They had to send the shuttle up to fix the Hubble. Well, we were concerned about it, so we went up, and this was the first light image. And this is the infrared version of the what the human eye can see. Here's a great example of Orion. You know, you showed it earlier, and this is what we see with SOFIA. So there's visible light spectrum right here. Infrared is this much more. So we're getting 10 times the data through the infrared spectrum than we would through a visual spectrum. And here's another example of visible light, near infrared, and the forecast science instrument. And we're looking at the Orion Nebula. And you can see again how much more data we're getting. Where were you? She loves supernovas. There you go, 11 million light years away, and we were photographing this from an airplane going 500 miles an hour. So again, here's the processed image of the supernova on that one flight that we did. Typical sortie, we would go show up about 2.5 hours prior to takeoff. It was a 10-hour flight from sunset to sunrise, and we would step climb up through the night. Initial cruise was 37,000 feet. The door would open at 25,000 feet, so we wouldn't shock the mirror with the drastic temperature change. And we, as the fuel burned and the airplane got lighter, we could get up to about 43,000 feet. And with infrared, the higher you go, the better the telescope can see because you're above most of the Earth's moisture, about 98% of it at those altitudes. The challenge for the pilots was at that altitude and being still kind of heavy, you only had about 8 to 10 knots of airspeed between stalling the wing and overspeeding the wing. And we were sitting there manipulating the throttles all night long. So it was a very intense process for the pilots. Typical sortie, typical routing, there was no such thing. Every astronomer decided what object he wanted to look at. Each one of these legs is a different object. And sometimes we would have a team of 7 or 8 different astronomers. This was one guy's leg. This is the next astronomer's leg. So it was very important for us not only to get an on-time takeoff, but to get a takeoff period, because sometimes they would lose their data if the airplane broke, and they would have to wait a whole year before that object that they were interested in was visible again. So we had the best maintainers in the world working for us. They were really talented. To keep a 40-year-old airplane going twice to 4 times a week was a real testament to those guys. And we only had a few cancellations during the entire 10-year program that I was on it. We would coordinate with the mission director. So when we would come up to the end of the leg, we'd give them a 2-minute warning, then a 1-minute warning, then 30 seconds. They would have to stop the telescope from moving. We would make the turn, and then they'd release the scope again on its bearing. If we made the turn without doing that, the telescope would hit a limit, and then it's a 10-minute reset. Well, if you only got a 30-minute leg, as an astronomer, now you lost a third of your data. So the coordination between upstairs and downstairs was critical. We also were really good experts at Pluto, at occultations. That's when a star lines up with an object, the shadow falls on the Earth's surface somewhere, and we would go out there and intercept it. Pluto occultation was one of them. The MIT orbital mechanics guys said, the shadow from Pluto and this star are lining up. They're going to fall in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on this date at this time. We carry a navigator on those missions because our timing sometimes had to be as tight as 3 or 4 seconds. We intercepted Pluto. It was successful. We heard a lot of cheering from downstairs. And this is the processed image that we saw. And in that 10-second flash, they discovered Pluto not only has an atmosphere, what it was composed of, and how thick it was. So the troublemaker that I am, I went, so is it a planet again? They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to discuss it. And I just kept pushing, guys. Come on, let's go. Make it a planet again. I had to memorize 9 planets. Why not these guys? So just a little way of having fun with the astronomers. Again, this shows another, the trajectory of the Pluto and the shadow and where we had to fly to intercept it. Again, very high pressure, very tight on the tolerances. This is when we looked inside the heart of Orion's nebula. Again, it's all in the infrared spectrum, so we're getting a lot more data than what normally would happen with an optical scope or even Hubble. Other examples here of the circumnuclear ring. Again, visible light versus infrared. This is just another example just to show you how much more data we were getting. Perks of the job. 10 months a year out of Palmdale, 10-hour flight would come right back to Palmdale. 2 months a year, we would deploy to Christchurch, New Zealand. Put it on your bucket list. It's amazing. And the community down there received us so well. They loved us. We had a great time down there, and we did another occultation while we were down in New Zealand. We operated out of there 2 months each year for about 5 years. Got to brief an astronomy club. The Canterbury Astronomy Club invited us to be their guest speakers like I am here tonight. They have 30 members. 400 people showed up. And they had to rent a church because they obviously couldn't support it in a room like this. And we developed a PowerPoint where each crew position took about 10 minutes to brief what their function was, including astronomers. I mentioned that one of my additional duties as a pilot for NASA was public outreach, just like I'm doing here. And I visit a lot of schools and a lot of civic groups. And this lovely little school teacher stood up and started screaming, "I'm a school teacher, you need to come to my school." Yeah, there's Nick back there. He's my public affairs guy. Coordinate with him. I visited 5 schools that 1-2 month period. So I had a blast. I had a great time. All the kids told me I talk funny. And I was like, I didn't want to say, well, you talk funny to me too. But, and the Christchurch airport was very supportive. Our takeoff times were critical down to the minute. They would send Air New Zealand around and wait for us to take off on time. And we're like, you don't need to do that. We don't want to get in anybody's way. But we did several dozen flights down there, and everyone was never delayed. We actually had a great support system down there. Just as some of the examples of the routing, every route again was different. And some of them took us really close down to the Antarctic ice cap. So we got to see a lot of the Aurora Australis instead of the Aurora Borealis. So that was kind of cool. Typical mission, like I said, we'd show up 2.5 hours prior to the flight, get everything ready, brief up we'd get a maintenance brief from our maintainers on the status of the airplane. We would do a crew brief, and then we'd walk across the hall and do a mission brief with all the guest astronomers and guest scientists on board. During the flight, everybody down there, like I said, it's a circus. They're all working crazy fast down there, trying to get their data, trying to, they're doing their thing on 10 different interphone channels. We actually got to bring the airplane out to Stuttgart because DLR is located in Stuttgart. They wanted to see where their $1 billion went in building the telescope. Fair demand. So we got to spend some time in Stuttgart, and we landed in the middle of German aerospace weekend, and we had over 400,000 people go through the airplane. We set up a door in the front, one in the back. They walked through it, looked at everything and went down. We would take 4-hour shifts because we were just talking constantly and answering questions. Again, warmly received by everybody. Part of the updates for the airplane, this is the old cockpit, like pilots call it steam gauges. It's all round dials, and we converted it to glass cockpit because we needed our navigational accuracy to be tightened up. When we flew to Europe, we had to get State Department approvals to enter their airspace. Our navigational systems had too much error in it, and they had to clear way too many airliners out of our way. And they're like, either update the system or never come back here again. Fair enough. So we stayed out of their way. Another perk of the job, I got a call one day. You got time for a tour? I'm like, sure. Usually it's a kindergarten class and it's like herding cats. Yeah, Fred Hayes is down there. I was like, okay, you could have led with that. I'm hanging up on you now and sprinting down there. Awesome guy. All he wanted to do was talk about airplanes. I tried to ask about Apollo 13. He goes, buy the book. Okay, that's good. I'm not going to argue with Fred Hayes. You don't argue with that guy. Another awesome person we got to fly. I don't know if you noticed this person. Sweetheart. Unbelievable sweetheart. Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, not only had dinner with us the night before, she flew with us on this mission. We carried a nurse because she was 81, stayed up all night, talked to everybody, filmed a PSA during the flight for NASA. I was upstairs, I was left seat that night. We were all co-captains, so we would switch seats every other night. I was like, hey, how's she doing down there? She's kind of showing her age. She's on her 17th take, trying to read the cue cards. And I'm like, what are you doing to this poor girl? I ran downstairs. She was eating it up. She goes, this brings me back to Star Trek. I was like, you look great, Nichelle. You look beautiful, sweetheart. She goes, come here. And she gave me a kiss. I was like, I just got kissed by Lieutenant Uhura. So no complaints there. Again, it's been a wonderful project. What killed SOFIA? The James Webb Space Telescope got launched. We overlapped for about a year, and I called it 2 months into James Webb's existence. I said, we're done. And everybody's like, no, we're going to complement each other. It's on different areas of the infrared spectrum. And I'm like, nope. There's some bean counter in Langley, Virginia, NASA headquarters going, telescope. Why are we paying for 2 telescopes? And of course, 2 months later, they announced, hey, at the end of the fiscal year, SOFIA's done. And now it's sitting at Pima Air Museum in Tucson. I would suggest going when it's cooler out, much like what you're doing right now at night. You can walk through it, and you downstairs only. They don't want people up in the cockpit. It's just too tight and too crowded, but you can go through the airplane and check it out. We actually had a reunion down there about 2 years ago, and a lot of the school teachers that we carried were there for the reunion. And it was amazing how many of them came up to me going, I remember you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you very much. I'm flattered. So I'm going to open it up now to questions. Please don't be shy about that. There's one very eager gentleman right here raising his hand.
Oh, one moment.
It was an amazing program.
Here, wait. Microphone. Oh, excuse me.
I don't understand how a plane can go 500 miles an hour with the vibration and pick up such resolution. Can you explain?
Sure, I can explain about this much of it. The airplane on its bearing was isolated from the airplane itself. There was a spherical bearing surrounded by an pressurized oil system. So it was cushioned against all our vibration. Now it did pick up some, but there was corrections to the images done by computer. And I told you that all the instruments were cryogenically cooled with either liquid helium or liquid nitrogen. They would fill up the dewars before flight, sometimes up to seconds before closing the door, topping off the dewars with liquid helium or whatever. One of the instruments was cooled down to a fraction of a degree above Kelvin. Just the turbulence would burn off the cryogens. The first time we flew that way, the cryogens were done in 6 hours. And we were like, wait, we were carrying 12 hours worth of cryogens. It was done in 6 because of it was a very turbulent night. Okay, mission's terminated, let's go home. So they only got half their data that night. So yeah, the airplane itself, the spherical bearing that it's mounted on, has a pressurized oil system, and it keeps everything isolated from the airplane. Yeah, it's crazy engineering.
Just a couple of questions.
Of course.
You showed the one picture where the telescope's coming through. Is that coming through the pressurized bulkhead that you mentioned that was in there?
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely. Let me go back.
That's pretty complex.
Oh, big time complex. And there'd be a little bit of whistling, a little bit of air leakage, but it wasn't enough to cause any depressurization. Let me go back to the cutaway view. Come on. Yeah, here we go. So this part right here is actually going through the bearing and sticking out into the.
Yeah.
So there's with the instrument on board and right there. So there'd be a little bit of leakage going through around the bearing, but nothing that caused any depressurization on the airplane.
And then secondly, that thing's looking directly out. Were you flying in different orientation? Were you doing the pilots pointing at all?
Yeah,
or-
what we would do is we would fly a curved flight path as they're tracking their object, whether it was a star or whatever, nebula. And downstairs, the mission director, the guy who was running the circus, he would call upstairs, go 1 degree left, 1 degree left. And we would turn just 1 degree. And it was always a very shallow bank. We couldn't roll the airplane up on its side because that would take the telescope out of limits. The telescope had a field of motion from 20 degrees higher than level to 60 degrees. So it could go up and down, but it couldn't go left and right. So we always had to make a turn. The challenge early in the operation was I physically had to go to Los Angeles Air Traffic Control Center, showed them a picture of our route, and I go, how do I file this? How do I get this in the system? And they're all going, what? And so we're in a conference room, and one air traffic controller would come in going, what are you guys working on? And then another one and another one. Before I knew it, there were 30 air traffic controllers in this room, and they're all coming up with different ideas on how we get this into the system to get our flight plan to go fly. We finally just went, you know what, just file a point every 100 miles. And when we first started operating, they're like, hey, we thought you were going that way. I am, but you're pointing this way. Yeah, I'm going to get there. It's a 1 degree turn. It's an arc. So after about the first year, they got used to us, and they're like, hey, NASA 747, we got you. They would move airliners out of our way. So it was really cool. And I knew 2 controllers personally. They're like, hey, is Manny on board tonight? Yep, I'm here. So that part was fun.
All right, couple
We
of
got a
quick,
question from this. Oh, okay. Let's go you,
Hi.
and then we'll get you.
okay, couple of quick questions. With so much weight that far aft in the fuselage, was it counterbalanced up
Yes,
front?
Good
to,
question.
keep the
Very
CG
good.
balanced?
Let me get back to the cutaway view.
And then I got a follow up to that.
Sure.
Also.
So
Yeah.
if you notice right here, all the computers that ran the telescope were mounted up front, 40,000 pounds in the back, and it wasn't enough. We actually had to mount steel plates in the lower lobe to keep the center of gravity right in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty much each takeoff was max gross weight.
Pretty close to it. Yeah, we
Necessitating the
averaged,
step
the
climbs,
airplane
yeah.
empty weighed 480,000 pounds,
Something like that.
and we loaded 240,000 pounds of gas. And yeah, so we were about 650 to 680 on takeoff. Our max was 700. And a couple of times we took off and the computer just wasn't working. And I had to get back down to landing weight, which was maximum of 450. So 640 minus, I had to dump 40,000 gallons of fuel.
And that takes a while.
And it took 45 minutes just dumping through the probes out on the wingtips. And I did it twice when maintenance told us this is questionable. And after that, I said, I'm never doing this again. If maintenance has an issue, we're canceling the mission and doing it tomorrow. Because I didn't want to waste almost $200,000 just dumping fuel. This young man had a question right here.
So what was the best image you took during the mission?
I think the Pluto occultation was really cool because it was so critical and so, time constrained. We had to be at that spot at the right time. We only had about a 5-second window. So from a pilot standpoint and a navigator standpoint, That one was really satisfying because it was real challenging.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
I love this. Questions?
My question is, that garage door, opens up, you got a circle. I mean, how much of it was actually,
So the way the door worked, it was mounted on tracks and it would stow completely to the other side of the fuselage.
we went,
It followed the curve of the fuselage and just stowed on the right side of the airplane. The left side was the opening.
seems to be that, I mean, wouldn't they have to reinforce that area so the tail don't fly off? Because
There was a lot of reinforcement done to that airplane. It took 10 years to modify the airplane, and a lot of the structural dynamics engineers were all over that airplane. They did a lot to stiffen up the structure. Yeah. They were very concerned with, especially with the pressure bulkhead, all the vibration that a normal tail, all tails swing left and right in a normal airliner, and that gets absorbed from nose to tail. Well, now it stops halfway. So now you got all this motion in the back half with nothing moving up front. So that's a lot of metal fatigue. So there was a lot of reinforcement, a lot of carbon fiber. Yeah, it was, like I said, it took 10 years to build the airplane.
Oh, okay, over here first.
How many pilots were part of the program and how many were on the plane at once?
We had 12 pilots total that were trained on the airplane, and we only flew with 2. And interestingly, towards the end of the program, well, towards the end when I left to come to Southwest Airlines at the end of 2018, we had 2 investigative groups come in. The interagency operations inspection, where pilots are, inspecting pilots. We would do them, they would do us. We have 10 NASA centers around the country, and we would just randomize it every year just to make sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. And one of them asked me, so why aren't you augmenting the crew with like an extra pilot? And I go, I'd love to. Give me money to hire more pilots. Oh, yeah. So we flew with 2. So it was, again, you're up all night long and you're landing at sunrise after being up all night. It's a 14-hour day, sometimes 16-hour day. And it was very fatiguing. So we flew every other day, and 2 flights a week was it. That's all we could handle. We were just exhausted. Plus, I was on 2 other airplanes at the same time. Some of our pilots were on 3 or 4 different airplanes at the same time. So yeah, they kept us busy. They got our money's worth. Then the other agency that came in was the do more with less people. Can you fly 5 or 6 times a week instead of just 4? Yes, we can. Oh, great. No, let me finish my sentence. I need more pilots, more navigators, more flight engineers, more mechanics, more parts, more fuel. Oh, yeah, you don't get something for nothing. Sorry. And they went away. It's like, thanks for playing. Yes, sir.
On that Pluto mission, did you have to make adjustments in airspeed or other things for the?
Yeah, in fact, on the way there, the MIT guy said, the shadow's going to be here. Oops, it's actually going to be over there, 120 miles off. Oh, so now we were flying as fast as we could to get over there at the right time. And then the navigator went, okay, you've made up enough time. Now you got to slow down a little bit. So he was back there using his GPSs, using his, INS inertial nav systems, down to even a stopwatch. I mean, he was using every trick in the book he ever learned, and we nailed it. We got it within a second of actual desired time. And like I said, they were cheering downstairs because they got the flash. So we were like, yay, we won. Yes, sir.
Is that photo of Pluto, the I don't know.
The occultation.
Is that photograph publicly available?
Oh yeah, every one of these images I've shown you today, it's on the NASA website. Just Google NASA SOFIA, and yeah, everything is public domain on NASA's thing. Much in deference to some people that think we're a secret organization. No, we're a science organization. Everything's on the domain. There's a short period where scientists have a proprietary period to publish, but after that, it's open domain. Yeah.
Did you ever enter the stratosphere?
Well, we were up there 35 to 45,000 feet. So yeah, we were right in the middle of it. Absolutely. And they always wanted 5 more minutes. Can we have 5 more minutes on the object? No, because I'm out of fuel.
when you did the modifications to the aircraft, did NASA do that? Was it a contractor?
It was
it Boeing?
contracted with L3 Corporation out of
L3.
Waco.
Okay.
And NASA came in occasionally to go, speed it up a little. Let's go. We're running out of money. You know, so yeah.
Okay.
It was in conjunction. It was private contractor, but overseen by NASA. Yes, sir.
Were you involved with any of the design or consulted at all or anything?
I'm a small brain guy. I'm not a big brain guy. I'm just a pilot. I just drive the bus.
Hi, did you ever fly out of Ames? Because I was up there and I've been through this.
I brought the airplane up to Ames one year, and that's where I met Ben, you know. So we had an open house. They gave out 6,000 lottery tickets to the local community. And I signed 6,000 autographs.
What were the experiments that were they doing out of Ames as opposed to other places?
They really didn't. Everything was done out of Palmdale. Ames managed the airplane.
Yeah.
But all the missions and all the flying ops were down at Palmdale because we had the runway, we had the airspace, and it's not as busy for air traffic control because
Tell me about it.
you got San Jose, you got Oakland, you got San Fran, and trying to get an on-time takeoff in the mix of all those airliners was next to impossible. We did one mission that way once, and we said never again. It was too crowded.
Okay.
You know, Palmdale kind of is in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
away from LAX and away from all the other airports in SoCal.
And from online, we have
Yes.
from Trisha. Did you ever observe any sprites or jets?
That's a good question, but I can't answer that because, like I said, I was driving the bus. If it was done by the astronomers downstairs. So apologize, I can't really answer that. I'm sure they were doing things downstairs that I just didn't understand. I'm like, which way do you want me to go? That's all I'm concerned about.
You
There you go.
you mentioned the Aurora Australis. What does it look like when you?
It looks a lot like our Aurora Borealis. But it was, I mean, it's amazing. I wish I had brought some images with me, but very dynamic, a lot of motion. You could actually fly. I actually flew through one end of the ring and out the other side. You could see some amazing colors, and we were trying to take pictures of it. And of course, with just a cell phone camera, it didn't really work out. But what we did was we took our night vision goggles that we use at night to look for thunderstorms and moisture, because that's the enemy of the mirror, and stuck my phone on and got it to the right spot to where it was looking through the night vision goggles. So I did take some video of it, but it's all green because that's the way the night vision goggles work.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much for having me. I had a blast. If you have more questions afterwards, come on up.